Good morning. Welcome to Carmel Valley Community Chapel on this misty Sunday morning. I want to thank Bill Salmon for being our liturgist this morning, Holly Thompson for being our deacon to the diaspora, and I want to welcome our guest speaker and conversation partner, Margaret Bruner. I'll give you a more in-depth introduction when we get to the message. But it's wonderful, Margaret, to have you with us. Thank you. And thanks to Wayne Clark for the ever faithful usher, greeter, and man of all things. At this point in the service, I invite all who were able to please stand and join responsively in the call to worship printed in the bulletin.
Welcome to the spiritual journey of this Sabbath day.
This day is a way of discovering what is reliable and true, a way of expanding trust in our inner wisdom. This day brings us deeper into a compassionate relationship with that which is whole within ourselves, where we listen to the still, small voices of our heart and soul.
This day delights us with new opportunities to connect with others in honest conversations and mutual support.
Together, we practice a path where all our individual paths can meet for a time to share our gifts and our needs, and find in our sharing the ability to trust that is most fundamentally true within ourselves, within one another, and within this wondrous world that is our home. Let us join together in singing our opening hymn, which is one of the inserts this morning, Holy, 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 Love Now Ascending. Please be seated. At this point in the service, I invite us all to join together in a few moments of silent prayer and meditation. I invite you to take this time to center your hearts, your minds, your spirits, and your bodies into this here and now that we are creating with one another. Let us join together in silent meditation. Thank you, Peter. It's wonderful to have you back with us this morning. Our reading for this morning does not come from the Bible. It is a contemporary reading, a poem by Yehuda Amichai, who is recognized as one of Israel's finest poets. Robert Alter has said, quote, Yehuda Amichai is the most widely translated Hebrew poet since King David. Amichai was born in Germany in 1924. His family fled the country during Hitler's rise to power when Amichai was 12, and they settled in Palestine. During the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, he fought with the Israeli Defense Forces. The rigors and the horrors of his service in this conflict and in World War II inform his poetry deeply. After World War II, Amichai attended Hebrew University. He taught in secondary schools, teachers, seminars, Hebrew University, and later at American institutions such as New York University, the University of California, Berkeley, and Yale University. So, in light of the many divisions in our country and in the world, I thought this poem was an apt and relevant message for us today.
The Place Where We Are Right by Yehuda Amichai. From the place where we are right, flowers will never grow in the spring. The place where we are right is hard and trampled like a yard. But doubts and loves dig up the world like a mole, a plow. And a whisper will be heard in the place where the ruined house once stood.
Let us join together in singing Shadow and Substance. Shadow and substance, wonder and mystery, spellbinding spirit of atoms and earth, soul of the cosmos, person and energy, source of our being, we sing of your word. So this morning, I've invited Cantor Margaret to join us for a conversation. I think I first met you, Margaret, when you were singing at a Monterey County Composers Forum concert for a piece that Steve Ettinger had composed. And then, was it 4 years ago when I started playing?
Yeah, I think it was 4.
Yeah, at Temple Bethel in Salinas. And it was a wonderful experience. I am so grateful to have been there and to still be working for you for the High Holy Days. Let me tell you a little bit about Cantor Margaret. She grew up in Berkeley and received a BA in music from Cal State University, Hayward, and a Master's of Music at Indiana University. She then went on to pursue a second master's degree in sacred music from Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, the School of Sacred Music in New York, becoming invested as cantor in the year 2000. She served as cantor for 9 years at Congregation. Yeah, what she said.
Love and kindness.
Yes. Avahath Chesed. Is that close?
That's good.
All right. In Jacksonville, Florida. And after moving back to California, Margaret made connections with both Congregation Beth Israel here in Carmel Valley and Temple Bethel in Salinas. She has served as cantor, educator, and then religious leader of Temple Bethel since 2014. And the synagogues, just like the churches today, many of them are struggling as fewer and fewer people seem to desire spiritual community. And Temple Bethel had to go without a rabbi. And Margaret really has been, not officially the rabbi, but the spiritual leader of the congregation. And I have to say, Margaret, what I've observed, you've done a wonderful job of being what we would call very pastoral in your leadership. And I see how much people there respect you and appreciate you. So, good work. And I already said I've been working there for 4 years, and it was a wonderful experience for me for the first time in my life to really get acquainted with Jewish liturgy and prayers and hymns and chants. And it was a whole new style. I think it was 2015 when the Reform prayer book was published, so relatively recently.
The newest version.
The newest version,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was
Yeah.
referring to. And it's a beautiful liturgical book that has a lot of contemporary quotations and poems and some prose that helps to explain each piece of the service as you go along. And it was such a gift for me to get to worship with your community and to get to really not just enjoy, but find spiritual sustenance in your worship service. So thank you for that. I've asked Margaret here today to have a conversation with us, so I hope you'll contribute and have comments and questions. I thought that there were some particular topics that would be interesting. One, certainly the state of things that Israel is in at the moment. Obviously, as well, back here in America, the rising threat of anti-Semitism. And also some hopes for more solidarity and interfaith cooperation in our local area. And I will just mention that Margaret is part of a progressive religious leaders organization in Salinas. And maybe she can tell us more about that. And of course, time allowing, whatever you would like to ask or to hear from Margaret. But Margaret, why don't you say a little bit about what's going on in Israel? Because I know you have a contact there.
Well, your poem was perfect because if you stay in that place where you're right, then you're staying in your, if I may say, myopic little space. And the thing about Judaism is the Jewish religion never proselytizes. People may not know that because they never assume that their way is the way. So that's a lovely touching point for that sense of humility. And it was in preparation for today, I have a congregant, and that's a whole nother story because she's not a congregant, she's an Israeli. And what's very interesting is Israelis do not join synagogues so readily in the United States. It's free in Israel to be a part of a synagogue. In the United States, you have to pay dues, and that's just not in their nature. They just don't feel comfortable with that. There's many Israelis here in Carmel Valley that worship and participate at Beth Israel and also come to my synagogue, but they don't join as a matter of joining. She is... her mother was Yemenite and her father was a Holocaust survivor, so he was an Ashkenazi Jew, and her mother was a Sephardic Jew. So she is a perfect example of a Sabra, a modern Israeli woman. And I said, Orly, what's going on in your family in Israel? What do you hear from your relatives that live there now, and what's going on? And she said, well, you know, Cantor, you know what's in Israel, right? And I'm like, yeah, Jews. And she said, well, for every Jew, there's like two in your head. So what she was saying was so incredibly precise and perfect, because she was saying it's a place of conflict. It's a place of great complexity and conflict, and also just a melting pot of people, opinions, viewpoints, beliefs, ideas. So she has a cousin who's living there, and then she sent me a text later in the day. And there are a lot of Portuguese Jews, which is very interesting, Jews from Brazil that live in Israel. And her cousins are going to move to Portugal. They no longer feel safe in Israel. My ex-husband has a, thank you for that. My ex-husband has a sister who lives in Israel, and when the hostages were taken in October, and after that incident, I got a text message that said, where can we be safe? So there is a conflict of people that don't feel safe there anymore.
And there's a long history of that kind of trauma.
Yes, and the problem is for Yehuda Amichai's generation, all of those people came because they needed a homeland, obviously. They needed a place where they could feel safe. But what's happening, we're finding, is we're revisiting the trauma upon the next generations, and that's not going to work. My best friend growing up in Berkeley, her name is Lila. Her mother's name is Joy. Joy was born in Palestine. Her birth certificate says Palestine on it. Lila is my best friend. She's part Palestinian and American, and we get along really well. The founders of the Indivisible movement in this country are a Jew and a Palestinian. And on NPR, if you watched, well, I hope you didn't watch. I hope you were at the concert, which I wish I was at on Friday night. But there was a wonderful program, and there's a new book out by a Palestinian and a Jew who have made great friends and written a book, and it's really moving about their friendship and relationship. And so what Israel is people, neighbors that live together. And it's the people that are friends and have the connections and the relationships at the grassroots level. What we see and hear about in our country, of course, is what's at the national level, and that's quite a different picture.
And before October 7th happened, I was aware that there were several successful organizations that brought Palestinians and Israeli Jews together for conversation, for community, to just to talk and to understand one another. And that I had the feeling when I read about that, was aware of what was going on, It was so hopeful. And then October 7th happened.
Yeah, that's true. And there is an organization in the United States called J Street. J Street represents, I'll say, my point of view, which is that we're all one human family. We're all brothers and sisters. And J Street seeks out those types of relationships that you're talking about, and to have conversation and dialogue and peace.
So let's open it up. If there's anyone that would like to share a comment or ask a question, please get my attention. I'll bring the microphone to you. You're welcome to continue on this vein or go somewhere different.
Has anyone ever traveled to Israel? Yeah.
Got 4.
You have a question?
That I think ties in with what you're saying and J Street. I traveled to Israel, and in fact, in terms of the travels around the world that I've had the benefit of doing, I would say by far the most dramatic was the trip that I took to Israel. And I think it was about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I traveled with a group of California judges who, it was a strange group because it was, they were all basically Jewish background judges, with the exception of a few judges who are African American. And there developed a tension between those two groups on the trip, which was sort of surprising. They had very different views of, I think, Israel and what was going on there. And then myself and my best friend on the court, who is very much Catholic. And so it was a strange group of judges to travel into Israel, but it was a fascinating time. We met with Supreme Court justices. We had dinner at the ambassador's house, both the U.S. ambassador as well as the Jewish ambassador to England. We were able to, because of the tour group that we were with and who had organized it, we were able to go to the very border of Gaza, where we met with the individuals the military individuals, women, who were monitoring that corridor and that the border between. And I'll never forget her discussion to us. She was absolutely terrified, and this was at a time when I think most Americans didn't realize that there was this enormous volcano that was going to erupt, or for those who were close to it, they were quite certain it was. It was a university right on the border of Gaza where they had many bomb shelters, and it was very interesting because the president of that university gave a speech to the judges. There was about 20 of us, and his basic message was that because there is a very large militant component of Israelis, and the ones who are more inclined to try to have a grassroots connection with the Palestinians were really few and far between. And so he gave really a courageous speech because he was surrounded by a lot of military people, that this was ultimately the only solution, that it would be revisited on subsequent generations, exactly what you said, if there was not this grassroots attempt. So this was sort of a precursor, and of course, in America, this is not what we saw. Even when we had a special private session with the Knesset, and there was a tremendous amount of animosity amongst quite a few of the individuals we met who were in leadership positions, including the ambassadors, that very concerned about the way Netanyahu was sort of monopolizing the political stage in Israel. But the strangest experience there was a woman who was our tour guide, and she was not part of the actual tour company that was taking us around Israel. And she approached me and she said, I'd like you to come to my house for dinner. She said, I don't feel comfortable, given the politics of the tour group, in addressing what I want to say to you, to the general group of judges or even the tour administrators who are Israeli. And she said, no one knows where I live, no one knows, and I want you to be very quiet about it. And I had just formed an emotional connection with her. We got along. So I went out, I managed to get out to her little place in the hills. And it was a very dramatic evening because she told me that she was part of an underground group of Israelis and Palestinians who were working very hard to try to prevent what they foresaw and what ultimately happened. And she said if anyone, even in our group of Israelis, knew that she was involved in this, she felt that her life would be at stake. She was going to come to California, and the sad thing is, we made a connection so she would contact me, and she gave me some mementos. Her father was also very active in this, and I never heard from her. So I hope she did survive, because she certainly was a part of this very small group, I guess J Street of Israel. And I just never got over it, but it's just hard to see a way out. We had a Palestinian speaker one morning the only one we had the whole trip, who spoke at 7:30, and we were in Jerusalem. He lived in Jerusalem, and most of the judges didn't show up, but a few of us did. And his story of how the Palestinians, the Arabic Palestinians in Jerusalem, were treated by the Jewish government and the Jews was startling and horrific. Yeah. So, I mean, there are so many complexities there that I think America misses. So I never got over that trip, and I don't have a solution. All I see is the problem, but I'm glad to hear that there are J Streets and grassroots that are developing, because it's not just an isolated issue, obviously. It involves the entire world, and it goes on and escalates, and I don't know where we're going with it, but hopefully people like yourself will help us get there to a good place.
Thank you, Melinda.
That was quite a story. That's quite an experience that you had. That's a very rare experience to have had that. And I want to ask you, you met with an IDF female soldier, is that correct? So in the IDF, the female, possibly that you met with, they're called scouts. And Rabbi Sharon Brous mentions this and writes about it. And they were the ones telling their superior officers, look, they're building tunnels in Gaza. There's something going on. There's all this activity, and they're planning something really big. And these scouts kept reporting back to their superiors, and their superiors said to them, that's fine, we'll take care of it. Your job is just to report on it.
You know, that's so true, but I'll never forget her speech. She was so traumatized in just discussing it with us that she could hardly talk.
She was scared.
She was scared to death, and we were all like, because we went out there not with that thought in mind. So she was just projecting this absolute terror that we saw, but we didn't understand. And obviously, they should have had more responsiveness to their concerns and observations. Hindsight.
John.
I'll kind of shift the topic, but on the scouts, because I've been there in some classified, the reason they use women is women have a better attention span than men. It's true. And so it's only women who watch the monitors in those tunnels because they're very, very reliable. Men are less reliable. But you used a good word, the word solution. And there's a thing called the final solution that we know that happened in Europe. Very unfortunate. Hitler trying to eradicate Jews everywhere. There's a thing called the final solution going on right now in Palestine. There's a thing going on in this country that's also a final solution that's racially motivated, in my opinion. And there are other final solutions. And so I'd like your thoughts on the fact that what Yehudi says is when you're right, you're actually wrong. And so there are no final solutions. Could you comment on that?
I agree with you that there aren't. And the extremism that's happening in this country is truly, truly frightening. Tucker Carlson's apology was not an apology. It was, there was an article in the New York Times that dissected his response or his turn of direction, now blaming it on the Jews. So I think unless we have conversations, and they have to start small at the grassroots level. My mother has been a grassroots advocate her whole life, and the Quakers, the Live Oak Friends meeting and the Quakers in Monterey County are really out there, working for peace. So in answer to your, what can we do? They are really out there, and we have to talk to our representatives. We can't be silent, because to be silent is to be complicit. This is a lovely start for a conversation. It's a difficult conversation, but it just speaks of the love that you've given to your congregation, and that I feel in this place, and people able to have a conversation in safety and openness, and I know you'll be missed. And it's really a pleasure to be able to come here and talk.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you with us, Margaret. And these conversations are so important and will need to be ongoing. Jody.
Something on my mind. I saw the pictures today in the New York Times of what's happening along the border in southern Lebanon, and all the towns and cities that have been destroyed into rubble. Are Jews in Israel commenting on this? Is there a resistance? Is there
Yes.
something that
Yes,
you can say about it?
my ex-husband's sister, she's in the streets every single protest that they have. There's a video on my phone of an Israeli man who says, "I'm an Israeli, I am not my government." There's such a strong movement of people who are not with Netanyahu. They don't approve of this, and it's going to tear their country apart. And there's mothers in Israel who are upset and weeping because their sons are going to war, and it's very troubling.
So long live the resistance.
Yeah.
What else can we say for this moment? Well, thank you, folks. Thank you so much, Margaret, for being here and being in conversation with us. And the conversation can continue after the service if you want to talk personally and privately with Margaret. Please.
And you can look for that show on PBS about the two gentlemen and the book that they wrote about their relationship. And J Street, I can tell you more about that. And I think there was a question back here.
Oh, Christy.
I just wanted to ask your opinion about, we're watching our own country here going to war, and you're speaking of Israel and those people watching their people going to war, and those of us that have some level of political advocacy and activism. But in your opinion, what is the most important thing that we could be doing now? I know, I hear you saying dialogue, and certainly everyone I know, we try at every dinner party and every setting. The political situation is so pressing and concerning that it does come up and we do discuss it. But beyond that, is there anything that you could share?
I think letting your representatives know where you stand, even though we're in California and we generally, have more of a liberal, those of us, outlook. But there is a group in Santa Cruz also. I think it's in Santa Cruz, but there's something called like the Blue and Red Dialogue, and they my friend Dr. John Silva told me about it, where, they get people to sit down and have these hard conversations, kind of like Judy Woodruff, I guess, traveling around the United States, meeting with people with opposite viewpoints. And again, it's starting at that local level, and then also just letting your voice be heard however you can. I think getting out in the street and protesting does, at least it makes you feel better. There's a man who's in Washington, D.C., and he's out there outside, and every day he's there, and somebody walked up to him and said, what are you going to do out here with your sign for peace? You think you're going to change what's going on in there? And he said, no, but it's going to change me.
All right, folks, thank you so much for your participation and thoughts and comments and questions and experiences. And let's move into a time for musical meditation.
Let us give in the spirit of joy and generosity.
everything that we are. Every moment is a blessing from above. It's endless love that we breathe. It's endless love that we receive. What has freely come, we now let freely go.
Please join me in the blessings of the gifts printed in your bulletin. O God, through the offerings of these gifts, may we become a more open people, open-minded in hearing your word and wisdom, open-hearted in healing a broken world, open-handed in heeding your call for charity and an active love. With thanks for all good gifts, we present a portion of our substance and the whole of ourselves. Amen.
Please be seated. This is a time for any joys and concerns that people would like to share with the community. If there's anything you'd like to share, please get my attention. I'll bring the microphone to you. And if there's any way in which we can join in solidarity with your sharing, let us know by ending with a phrase we can repeat together, like, God hear our prayers, or thanks be to God, or blessed be, or something else. Is there anything folks have to share this morning? Christy.
I'd like to bring to mind Dan Riley, who is having some serious health issues with his heart, and to remember to keep him in our hearts and prayers at this time, for he and Judy and their family. And I also wanted to thank Cantor Margaret for speaking out so courageously and raising our consciousness and awareness. And also, I believe John's comment and Melinda, my heavens, thank you both. What a gift to hear all of you. And our wonderful, darling Peter, the violinist. And I rarely say the word gifted, but he certainly is a gifted musician. So how fortunate we are to have his playing, and it really lifts your spirits, especially after the serious discussion. So thank you so much, Peter.
Yes, thank you. Melinda.
Too many words this morning, but I just can't let this morning go by without saying that Anna and I know most of the people here this morning, were at the concert on May Day. And it was just, we both were commenting that it was really the most remarkable and moving concert that we could remember being a part of. And a lot of it had to do with certainly yourself and your ability to go from so many different composers over the course of the evening. We'd never experienced that. And then to give those wonderful introductions that gave us a whole different ear. And of course, combining with the extremely talented clarinet, it was just a night we'll never forget. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm still trying to recover. There's nothing else that folks have to share. Peter? Yes, please.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everyone. I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate the life of my partner's grandmother, who passed away at the age of 101 earlier this week. And she lived an incredible life. I couldn't begin to describe it all here. But I wanted to celebrate her life today. And she was born in the United States, but to recent immigrants from the Greek region of Kalamata. And so the postlude I'll be playing today is a way to celebrate her life It's a folk dance from the Kalamata region of Greece. So we can all think about the great life she had and the great family and community she built. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. And I heard him rehearse the piece earlier this morning, and it is a celebration of life that we'll hear for our postlude. So I think we're all going to have a treat to enjoy. Thanks, Peter. If there's nothing else that folks wish to share at this point, I invite us all into a few moments of silent prayer together. After a little bit of time has gone by, I'll invite us to join together in saying this new paraphrased version of the prayer of Jesus that's printed in the bulletin. Let us join together in silent prayer. Spirit of love, thank you for this community and for the opportunities we have to listen to other viewpoints, to expand our knowledge, to increase our love for the world and for how rich and varied and diverse our world is. May your Spirit continue to guide us on a path that loosens up the trodden soil that is hard and unyielding and creates room for things to grow and to be nourished. We have been through so many challenges in our history as the human race. May we rise to the challenges of our time and create a better, more inclusive, more loving and compassionate world. Hear us now as we join together in saying this new version of the ancient prayer that our brother Jesus taught us to pray, saying, Great Spirit, loving parent and source of all, in you we find heaven and holiness and hope for our world's renewal. May we today have food to eat, forgiveness to share, and justice for all creation. May we have strength in times of trial and oppression, loss and sadness, for it is in loving that we most fully know you and your power and your glory forever. Amen. And now I'm going to turn it over to John Grobmeyer, who asked for a time of presentation, and I have no idea what's going to happen. Would you want handheld or go to the podium? Okay, go to the podium.
Don't drop that. What a great place here. I think everybody will agree this chapel is special, and it's got a special spirit. And I think that spirit has been well tended by Reverend Rick. We have a path we walk on. We call it this thing called life. We have this path we walk on. We call it this thing called you. We have a path we walk on, and it's this thing called us. And as we walk our paths, and we know that Rick is a big path walker, our paths join together for certain periods of time. And it's really just remarkable that you let us join you on your path, Rick. And my wife and I, Cynthia, are very proud of that and very happy with it. And I think everybody in this room would also agree that you indeed are a remarkable person. So I've had this stick made for you. People get walking sticks. The person who made this makes museum quality ones, but this one's special. It's made out of North American walnut. It's also made out of myrtle wood. Myrtle wood can only be found in the Sea of Galilee, the Golan Heights, a very small section of the Pacific Ocean in Oregon, and supposedly somewhere in California, but I don't know where. The interesting about myrtle wood is it is a wood that is so dense and so hard that it will not float. So I'm going to give you this stick. It's embellished with copper accoutrements and brass accoutrements, and it has some hidden messages in it. And we want you to take this with you in your future walks, and it may always be with you. And thank you for this thing called us. Please join me in applauding and recognizing Rick.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. What a wonderful gift. I will use this. And it will probably save me from several stumbling incidents. Wow, it's beautiful. I can see the different woods. John, going to leave it up here if anyone wants to take a look at it, because it is very special. Thank you. So thoughtful. Yes.
I just want to say, he said I had it made. He made it.
Oh, he made it. Wow. Thank you so much. So now is the time for any announcements that folks have to make. I would just draw your attention to the bulletin and the schedule. On Tuesday at 7 p.m., we will have an in-person meditation service that will also be accessible on a Zoom link that will go out on Tuesday afternoon. And on Thursday at 1:30 on Zoom, we have our theology on Thursday. Any other announcements that I am forgetting? All right then. I invite all who were able to please stand and join in singing our closing hymn, Love Will Guide Us. Love will guide us, Jesus May you go forth this day in peace, with the strength and the confidence that love will guide us, and that we shall follow with one another where that love leads us to a better world, a more loving community, more peace and justice for all. Go forth this day in peace. Amen. Folks, I'm setting up my computer in the office so you can join with the live streamers and talk to them. Just take me a minute, I'm going to get it set up.
Do you think I need to replace the candles? Do we have them on hand? Huh? I mean, they can probably last maybe a couple more services, but they look better when they're, I think they look better when they're